With a career spanning over 5 decades, Craig Lidler has done it all, starring in Jason of Star Command, appearing in classics like Dallas, The Love Boat, and even delivering the legendary Grey Poupon commercial line. But beyond the bright lights of Hollywood, his story is one of resilience, transformation, and faith. In today's episode, Craig reflects on his early days as a lifeguard turned actor, hosting JFK's birthday party and crossing paths with the legendary Marilyn Monroe. He shares insights into the golden age of television, the highs and lows of fame, and the personal struggles that led him to faith later in life. Join us today for a captivating conversation about perseverance, purpose, and the power of storytelling. Hey guys, before we jump into the episode, I've got some exciting news to share. Our brand new website has just been launched and is live at paulbegleypodcast.com. This is now your one-stop hub for everything podcast related. So instead of scouring all over the internet looking for links to the show, you can stream every episode, watch our latest YouTube videos, check out our guest directory to see who's been on the show, and even read our brand new blog for extra content. And if you're enjoying this podcast, we encourage you to leave a review right on the site. There's no login hassle needed to do this. Everything's right there. It's easy to access, mobile friendly, and it's built for you. So while you're listening today, take a second to check it out. paulbegleypodcast.com. Now back to the show. Hey, joining us today is a seasoned actor with a career spanning over 5 decades in television, film, theater, commercial spots as well. He may be best known as the lead role in Jason of Star Command. Also made appearances in The Love Boat, Dallas, Wonder Woman, Dukes of Hazzard, but maybe most famous for his spots as the Grey Poupon man. I would actually call you the man in those commercials, Craig, right. And also Gordon Fisherman. So we'll play some of those a little bit later, unless you guys want to jump right into it right now. But Craig, welcome to the show. How are you?
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me. Pastor Paul and Paul. So I'm Pastor Paul here and Paul there. Hey, it's great to have. I'm it's just a pleasure to do this. I love Pastor Paul. I'm here every Sunday here at our church, Freedom Fellowship, and I just love being around him, golfing with him, and talking with him. And your father's a great man. Really.
Oh, thank you. Who wins the golf game?
He does.
No.
Yeah. He is. He is better than me. Believe me. Okay. We got to go again, though. I need a chance to redeem myself.
And I'm not very good, so they'll tell you about his golf, I guess.
No, he is pretty good. He really is.
Yeah.
Well, he taught me, so my game's not much.
No, well, don't brag on that, because that's. But you can beat me now, so that's not.
He is one of the prime reasons that my wife and I, who's sitting here in the studio, came to Freedom Fellowship. That and Izzy's music and Pastor Melvin, those three were really that's what brought us here. Pastors that tell the truth. That's what we're about.
Amen. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
And we need more of that in all walks of life, really. But
absolutely. Yeah.
So Craig, so you're now, are you fully done with your career? I think you still do a few more spots. You guys were talking about maybe potentially doing some commercials for the villages there, too.
Well, no, at this point, I'm retired. But let me explain that. In show business, actors don't retire. The agents just don't call them anymore. Because we never retire. We would keep working. I keep working now if I lived in Hollywood. And I probably would if I lived there. Not as much, but we don't retire. I mean, if somebody called me today and said, Craig, I want you to do a film or TV or do a commercial, I'd fly out immediately. So, but technically I am retired and I live here with my wife in the villages and have a wonderful life. So I miss it. But then I don't miss Hollywood. That's
another world, isn't it? I was going to ask him because you were born in Florida.
No. I was born in Syracuse, New York in 1941.
All right.
I moved to Vero Beach, Florida, 150 miles south of here when I was 12. And that's a whole part of the story. The starting of this, I started doing junior, senior class plays. I was doing variety shows, and I was a swing dancer, and I was really active. I was a singer. I was in the choir. And so I started doing Theater Guild, and the director there was a regional auditioner for the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, a famous drama school in New York City. And he said, Craig, I think you're talented, and I'd like to submit you to go to the American Academy. And I said, well, I've New York City. I mean, become an actor. I laughed it off. And he said, no, I think you should. I said, well, my family can't afford it. I mean, we're fairly poor. We're lower middle class, probably middle class. And he said, well, I'll ask for a scholarship. Long story short, he wrote them. They offered me a scholarship. I talked to my parents. They were supporting me, and I accepted it. And a year later, I was in New York City. I went from
what a shock.
8,000 people to 8 million overnight.
Yep.
And it was a shock. I mean, it was a major shock. I can't even tell you. I remember my parents driving around the corner on 7th Avenue, 23rd Street. I lived at the YMCA in a room 8 by 10, like a prison cell, for 2 years. And they drove around the corner, and my heart just sunk. And I looked up those big buildings and thought, what am I doing
here?
What am I doing? But it turned out okay.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it did.
So Craig, so actually before you went to, that's at New York, I'm trying to remember, that's New York University for the Academy?
No,
Is that right?
I went to the American Academy. I never went to university. However, the Academy was a college-accredited school. So I did 2 years. So had I transferred to NYU, I would have had 2 years. Had I studied drama at NYU, I would have had 2 years of credit. So it was accredited school. Yeah.
Okay. And I know, so with actually sort of similar for artists like yourself and Israel as well. So we're asking questions about, his childhood and kind of upbringing. Were your parents involved, like musical theater or musicians or anything like that sort of influenced you, Craig?
No, not at all. My father was a car salesman. My mother was a secretary for the city manager of Vero Beach. But my father's mother, Laura, was a famous singer for Isham Jones, the most famous band in the country in the early 1900s. 1920s. She was the lead singer. So and she was a typical show woman. She abandoned him. It's a long story. But I think I got that talent from her.
Yeah.
That I don't know. I didn't ever have a design to move forward with it professionally at all. I just enjoyed performing. I like singing. I like performing in front of people. Every time I did a show, I got good reviews, and I was, again, a dancer. So I was always expressing myself theatrically, if you will, and creatively, and I think that came from her.
Yeah, it had to be. I mean, that's an incredible story in itself. I mean, so she was singing and dancing and performing back in the Roaring 20s.
Well, right, in vaudeville days. And but she was she sang, only she was a lead singer.
She's a singer, yeah.
Isham Jones was a huge orchestra then, a Tommy Dorsey type of, but before them. So it definitely came from that.
Yeah, it came.
And as I found out, Pastor, I should say, that I found out later at 80 when I became a Christian. I became a Christian at 80.
80 years
old. My beautiful wife led me in that direction, didn't push me, but led me. And I realized that it may have been Laura that gave me influence in my talent and in my soul, but it was God. I had no idea how lucky I was, but it wasn't luck. It was God. I was directed to do that. I realize that now. Then I was an agnostic, and I was like, it was just sheer luck, and I had some talent, and I had some luck, and I did pretty well. So now I thank God for it. That's bottom line.
Well, it's absolutely talented, and I don't think your career's over. Okay, just telling you. Okay, so
Oh, I heard a whispering of
yeah,
something.
I can't say a whole lot about that yet, but you know. So let me ask, because all right, so there it was in your genes. It was in your blood. You didn't know, and that's how sometimes the sort of like me, my great grandfather was an evangelist in the same time period back in Eastern Kentucky, riding on horses. You know, he was what we call a circuit rider.
A traveling.
Yeah, and preached.
Evangelist.
Oh, yeah, and he was pretty famous in that part of the world, Eastern
Really?
Kentucky and Eastern Tennessee. So I had no idea that, you know, I think sometimes God sets things in motion. And so probably in your case, he had a plan for you. Obviously, you had a tremendous career, and yet you found Christ late in your life, and which is an incredible thing. But that talent, all that training, I always call that training somehow in our lives,
Yeah.
does lead us to a point for something special.
Exactly.
So I think you're at the verge of that something special, and God knows what that is.
Well, exactly. And he led me to this wonderful career that I've got to tell you, I was so blessed to have it. I enjoyed working so much when they yell lights, camera, action. I was just there. I was on. I mean, it was just a magical moment.
Yeah.
Or in theater when the curtain went out, and I did a lot of theater. And I started doing when I started, I did a lot of theater, and I continued to through my career, through first part of it. So that was always a magical time for me, and it just, you know, I had nerves, and I would get butterflies, and but as long as you're prepared,
Yep.
that curtain goes up, the lights go on, the camera rolls, you go.
Yep.
And you know, it's just amazing. Sometimes I'd look back and look at the the edits and everything, and look at the movie or whatever the TV's, and I go, man, that was pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Like
yeah.
Laverne and Shirley. That's one of my favorite shows, one of my favorite parts I ever did, because it was so much fun. It was beautifully directed by her brother, Gary. It's just a blast to do. And it had live audience.
Yeah.
There was 5 camera and live audience.
That was
so
cool.
I was like theater with camera, and it was just.
That was in your wheelhouse. Matter of fact, do we have a clip of that, Paul?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Folks, let's watch
Laverne
this.
and
What year
Shirley.
was this, Craig? Do you know?
That was it was the show was called New Year's Eve 1959, and I think I did it in that's a good question. Laverne and Shirley, around 70.
In the 70s. I remember watching Laverne and Shirley.
72. But anyway, yeah, it was a classic, considered a classic, because it was a New Year's Eve show, and it was became very popular as an episode.
That's Dallas. We could watch Dallas too if you want it.
No problem.
Okay, here comes Laverne and Shirley.
Here's Laverne. Yeah.
Yeah, me too, Laverne. I'm sure glad you went out with me tonight. Yeah, I'm sorry somebody stole your shoes, though.
It's okay. They'll never get the L's off them.
Yeah.
Hey, you want something to drink? How about some milk and Pepsi?
Oh, God. No, you almost killed me with that in the 6th grade. I hate that.
This was the good part.
Okay.
Comfy?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I'm always comfortable with you, Laverne. You're so easy to talk to.
Is that what we're gonna do? Talk all night? Hi, Pete!
You remember the first time we kissed?
Yeah, at the 6th grade class picnic, when me and you went for a walk in the woods.
Nah, I thought it was on a baseball field.
It was on a baseball field, because I remember I was wearing your Sharks jacket.
Yeah, right. Remember, I had to punch you to make you give it back to me, remember?
Yeah, and then I punched you, and then you kissed me.
Nah, I didn't. You punched me again.
But you kissed me somewhere in there.
I had to. You wouldn't let me up off the ground till I did. Hey, why'd you do that, huh?
Why? Because I liked you. Why'd you punch me all the time for?
You're the only girl in the 6th grade that could take it.
Yeah, I guess I was.
And besides, I kind of liked you, too. I didn't hurt you, did I? Oh.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Of course, it was a lot longer show than that, but
Right.
that's a good clip. That's the good clip from it, yeah.
So you made these type of appearances like that on famous shows, very good shows, and you played different roles. They brought you in. So that was a very famous one right there.
Yeah. Well, I did, of course. I played, spokesmen and cowboys and farmers and lawyers and congressmen, and I did everything because commercially I did so many commercials. But I did so many different characters, so many different type construction workers, truck drivers, whatever. I mean, I think that was part of my my appeal in Hollywood, is that the casting directors knew that I was versatile.
Yeah.
I was very athletic. I could throw footballs. I could play tennis. I could golf. I could swim. I could, I could do almost anything.
Right.
At least not maybe but well enough to do it in front of camera.
Right.
And I did some very well. Like I was a pool shooter, very good one. I could get in a pool hall and do that kind of.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what made me so successful. In
Your
commercial
flexibility,
industry.
your versatility,
Yeah.
your ability. Show us some more, Paul. What do you have here?
Well, I mean, I just wanted to add to that, Craig. So I think I was listening to an interview about when you got the lead role in Jason the Star Command, and it sounded like the director was looking for a guy like an Indiana Jones type, and because you were so athletic, had the perfect fit for that. I think that's a big reason of what landed you that role. Is that correct? While I'm pulling this up, Craig.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I was a leading man, but I was a flexible leading man in that I could stretch into parts like that. And that's exactly what they were looking for. Remember, that was I mean, yes, that to answer your question, yes, I think that had a lot to do with it, because it was a outer space adventure type of character, and I did a lot of that.
Jason of Star Command.
Yeah. So this is the intro here.
A space
Look at that suit. Look at this.
Look at that.
Sinister
Forget Captain Kirk.
Sid Haig.
Aiding Jason in his battle against evil
great.
with a talented team of experts, all working together in a secret section of Space Academy.
That's James Stewart.
Yeah, he's pretty
Star
famous.
Trek.
Yeah, he went to Star Trek.
Star
Actually.
Trek. He was my commander.
Yeah, so he went to Star Trek after Jason Command, didn't he?
No, that was done before
Oh.
us.
Oh,
But a lot of our animation was considered state of the art then for
Yep.
a children's show, which
Yeah.
mine was, played in CBS and Saturday mornings. The animation was considered state of the art, and a lot of it was like what they had in Star Trek, but not quite as sophisticated. Obviously,
Right.
they spent a lot more money.
and technology. But yeah.
Yeah, and technology had gotten better, and ours was considered by the enthusiasts to be one of the best at that time.
Yeah.
And it's pretty corny now,
Yeah.
but with CGI and the age or whatever they call it, all those 3-letter, 2-letter, technologies. It was.
And how many seasons did Jason?
It ran 2, and it shot 2 and ran 3, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can watch it, folks, if you go on, if you have Comcast.
It's on YouTube, all of them.
Yeah,
actually.
and
You can see it on
my granddaughter
Netflix.
My granddaughter Lexi was come down visited me for a while, and I told her, and she met you at church,
Right.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
So then we went back home. She said, "So what did he do besides Great Poupon?" I said, "Well, he was the star. He was the star on Jason's Star Command." So we watched the whole first season. Okay, so
Yeah.
we just sit there, had popcorn, and watch the whole first season. So
Wow. You got some stamina there. That's a little hard to.
No, it's really good. It's really good.
Yep.
So,
Well, I just had it on the other night because I was trying to get familiar with the show, and I mean it's children's television. So I
Right.
had my kids were in the living room too. So I have a 9-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Oh, they
And
love
the
it.
4-year-old kind of stopped everything, and she's like, "Wow," because they never really see the CGI and the
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the effects that they're using. Then they're used to this, bright, colorful, flashing screen Cocomelon kind of thing now,
Right.
and she was like in it. So I think that's going to be one of our household shows
yeah,
here.
yeah, that'd be great. I hope the grandkids watch the entire seasons, both seasons, and
Well, I think if it
Oh,
ran
yeah.
today, I think it would do probably very well with young people, and it would take them back to a day that was more,
Simple.
peaceful and more
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
real, and so it would probably work. But I don't think they'll do that.
you never know.
They'd have to, they'd have to
It's-
pay me.
There's an amazing move by young people who are so curious about our era
Right.
that they want to watch what went on in the 60s. They're going and getting the albums, again,
Mhm. Right.
because they wanted to hear that sound, which is so much more pure,
Yeah.
and they're watching the films and they want to watch the TV series that are way back because it was better quality. I mean, to be honest with you, it wasn't so politically correct.
Pure and wholesome.
It
Just
really was.
wholesome. Just wholesome stories. Anyone could watch it today. I mean, you can't even listen to rap music. At least
Oh.
you can some of the Christian stuff in there, but
Yeah.
you can't even listen. You kids you
No,
can't have
you
listening
can't
to
have
that.
that.
You could watch every second of Jason, and it's just fun for them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Fortunately, Hollywood's
Pastor-
not fun anymore.
Well, Pastor, you mentioned, going back and listening to the 60s, 70s, and vinyl records. Craig, I wanted to ask you, kind of you getting your break into Hollywood and then working there in the 60s and 70s. I think we were talking a little bit before we started. You had a story about, and I'm guessing this was part of your big break, was when you were working President Kennedy's birthday party in the 60s. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And did that actually help you get your connections to get into Hollywood?
No, it had nothing to do with it. Well, it sort of leads in from my whole beginning back in Vero Beach. I got to the academy in 1961, graduated in '63. And I will maybe talk about this, Pastor. I obviously in Vero Beach, I had a very interesting life as well, working as a lifeguard and a cowboy, and working at the McKee Jungle Gardens where I wrestled the alligator by accident. But when I got to New York in '61, through '63, at '63 it was May. I was just about to graduate. Some people came to the academy and asked for some. 8 or 10 people to wear tuxedos and be hosts at a famous person's birthday party. Didn't tell us who it
Didn't
was.
tell you who. Okay.
So we went to the Waldorf Astoria where it was, and we got there, and the whole block of Park Avenue was blocked off. There was no traffic, no people. I'm going, boy, this is weird. I mean, New York City,
Yeah.
you never see that because
No.
it's like living in a rat race. I mean, that's really
Yeah.
so. We kept talking. The Secret Service came in, and I'm going, oh, boy, this is really interesting. People are coming in, and I'm standing there at the entrance right in front of where Marilyn Monroe ended up singing to him. And I'm standing, the bleachers are up like this, and a lady left to me. She isn't from, 2 feet away. We started talking. She said, very sweet lady, reminded me of my mother. I mean, she
Yeah.
felt a pleasant lady. And she said, well, so what's your name? I said, Craig. And she said, well, Craig, what are you doing here? I said, well, I'm at the American Academy. They asked us to host, and I'm here. I'm studying to be an actor. And she said, oh, well, that's interesting. And I said, why are you here? And she said, well, my husband's part of the show. I said, is he an actor too? She said, no, it's Ed Sullivan. well, I mean, bang. I got up off the floor and I went, oh my gosh, But so that, of course, that evening, that was one of the times, 2 times she sang John Kennedy. She sang to John for his birthday, Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. President. Well, it became famous.
Oh yeah,
obviously.
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I'm standing there, not 20 feet from Marilyn Monroe in a pin spot, singing the President John F. Kennedy, who's sitting not 10 feet above me with a big cigar in his mouth.
In a balcony, like.
Yeah, they had a little balcony overlooking it.
Smoking a big cigar.
Smoking a big cigar, and there's Pierre Solinger next to him, Bobby Kennedy
Oh my Lord.
next to him.
Oh.
His wife was not there. Jackie was not
Yeah.
there, and there's a story for that. I mean, he was having an affair with
Marilyn Monroe. Yeah,
and that's another.
That's
thing.
another story.
But that's why she wasn't there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm just watching. See, I can't remember the list now of people, but I mean, Marilyn Monroe, of course, was there singing, and Margaret sang to him.
Okay.
Ed Sullivan was there. Jack Benny, George Burns, Peter Lawford sang to him. Because he was in the Kennedy family.
Yeah.
Jimmy Durante, Louis Armstrong. I mean, there's all these famous people.
Louis Armstrong.
And I'm like arm in arm with them.
Yeah.
And I'm going, I was just like, I was just like a big smile on
Yeah.
my face. And I was so enamored. And then John Kennedy came down and walked in after it was all over. And Marilyn was closed the show. And she walked down and she walked up to him. And I'm literally, I'm
10 for me.
shoulder to shoulder with
Like
John
almost-
F. Kennedy.
Yeah, you're standing next to the President of the United States.
Even closer than we are.
Yeah.
And I could touch his shoulder.
Yeah.
And she's right here, not 3 feet in front of me, and he's saying, Marilyn, thank you. Oh, that was wonderful. John, this big grin in his face,
Yeah.
cigar in his hand. I'm going, oh, boy. But he was such a charming man. He
Yeah.
was just a really charming, had a great energy and smile. And that was my experience with Marilyn Monroe and John
F. Kennedy. And
by 6 months later, by the way, he was assassinated,
Right.
which I was watching on TV, and just all this flashback. I thought, oh my gosh, I was part of history.
Well, you're part of history with the Marilyn Monroe singing to the president for his birthday, which is an iconic moment, which you're standing right there with him. And then later, of course, the president assassinated. Not long after this, we know Marilyn Monroe dies, and there's a lot of conspiracy that maybe she was killed by the CIA.
But from inside Hollywood, I think it's even more than conspiracy. It was quite obvious what was going on.
Pretty well know.
Yeah.
But so, Paul, I mean, you can imagine this is a very iconic moment, and Craig just happens to be. You don't just happen to be in a moment like that. God has to put you there.
That's what I realized later.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, I mean, what are the odds? I'm just this little guy, this young, guy from Vero Beach, Florida, a little town, came off a ranch as a cowboy. I mean, literally, and lifeguarding and working at a gator farm, and it's just here I am, 2 years later,
right.
With President John F. Kennedy
and Marilyn Monroe.
It's like, what? I mean, what? And then, of course, then I went from there in 1963. I stayed in New York for 5 years. In 1966, I went to Hollywood because Broadway was getting difficult. I was a good singer. I was a good actor. But I didn't have that John Raitt voice, that I ended up doing Carousel. The lead in Carousel, which he sang, but I couldn't sing like him. I couldn't hit those high baritone notes.
Right.
And you have to have that on Broadway. So, a buddy of mine, Dan Keogh, was a friend of mine. I said, well, let's get a car, drive out to Hollywood, and take a shot at a TV movie career. And that's what we did in 1966.
Wow.
January of 1966. Yeah.
Paul, you have some more footage here of Craig.
Yeah, I guess I have. Let's see, what else do we have here?
I mean,
I was saying
he was the Winston man too. I don't know if we have that, but maybe Paul will show that in the editing of this. But
I was the Winston man,
not the Marlboro man, but you was the competition.
Right,
you were the Winston man.
Yeah, I was Winston. Well, Tom Selleck was doing Salem. Same company.
So Tom
was the picture of them. I was the picture of Salem of Winston.
Yep.
And that shot you'll see in there is from Playboy magazine, actually, full page.
Wow.
Playboy.
Oh, the
magazine.
I'm not even going to ask.
shot.
I'm not even going to ask anymore about that.
I don't.
You get a full page in Playboy, I'm scared.
By the way, I could have gone to Playboy Mansion many times, and
yeah.
I never did.
Yeah.
I think I just sensed that it was
Not the right place
where
for
I
you.
wanted to be
Yeah,
going.
Not
Yeah.
the right
Yeah.
place for you. All right, here we go.
So,
What we
Craig,
got? Go ahead,
So
Paul.
this one is one of the more iconic, which, I mean, I feel like all age groups really have probably seen this or at least heard somebody quote this before. And this is Craig as the Grey Poupon man here.
The finer things in life. Happily, some are affordable, like Grey Poupon Dijon mustard. Grey Poupon is so fine, it's even made with white wine. Its original French Dijon recipe adds distinctive flavor to beef, pork, and poultry, salad dressing and sauces, and of course, sandwiches. So enjoy one of life's finer pleasures.
Pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon?
There it is.
But of course.
Grey Poupon. It even has wine.
I mean, that's a famous. I mean, I've seen that commercial. Of course, that was in 1981. And Heidi and I got married in 1982. So for the next 15 years, it seems like. I don't know how long that commercial
It
ran.
ran for 13 years.
Okay.
And if, for the audience, or for your audience, that is a long time to be an actor in a commercial, because we get paid to shoot and we get paid residuals every
Yeah.
time it runs.
Runs, yeah.
And now I won't go into that, but it's a sliding scale. And then every 2 years they have to renegotiate. Well, they kept renegotiating. I ended up, I probably made $250,000 off that one spot
Ain't that
that I
great?
shot
Wow.
in one day.
Yeah.
And it kept running till my daughter was born. Right as I did it, she was 13 when it stopped running.
So she sees it too.
Oh, her friends all in high school. Oh my God, your dad's a great Poupon man. Oh, it's just so. And she's going, yeah. And so it was amazing how famous that became. And when I did it, when I auditioned, we had a row of chairs. Another guy and I went into the room. They do it on video, and there's the casting director. No producers, nobody. He's sitting there, I'm sitting there, and the line is, Craig, pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon? So I look at him, pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon? He says, oh, but of course. That's it. Thanks, bye. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know, months later, they say, okay, you're hired, and I shoot it, and I'm thinking, I don't even know what this is. I've never heard of Grey Poupon mustard. So my mother's working in Publix down here in Florida, and I said, Mom, check the gondola, see if there's any Grey Poupon there, because I don't see it in L.A. So she looked and said no. Well, about 6 months later, all of a sudden it came on the shelves. Now they sell like 50, 100 million bottles a
It's
year.
amazing.
And it became so famous that it was just like weird. It was just really strange. I didn't even think they'd run it.
That commercial, of course, I think put Grey Poupon mustard on the map.
Oh, it did.
No doubt about it.
That was the first commercial, and it made them famous.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
to this day, I love Grey Poupon. So,
Yeah, me
I mean,
too.
you can use it with so many different
Yep.
things you want to eat.
That's what they say.
Believe it or not, and I grew up kind of poor too. Okay, so don't
I
worry.
know, right?
So we had what's called hillbilly steak and
Yeah.
bologna, fried bologna. Okay, so when you fry bologna and cheese,
We still eat it.
okay, yeah, I do too. I do. Don't say nothing because I'm losing weight. I'm trying my best to stay in
wife's
health.
laughing.
I don't want my wife to see
You got to
this.
stay away from that.
Yeah, I don't want my doctor to see this. But fried bologna on bread with cheese and Grey Poupon, it don't get no better. It just don't get no better than that. I mean,
Yeah,
seriously.
yeah. Well, and we just started having that again, a very high quality bologna,
Yeah.
and putting cheese on it and having it like as a breakfast sauce.
Oh, I'm gonna go
And
do that now. I'm
My
gonna have to
wife,
go do
my
that.
wife is a wonderful cook, so even bologna she makes good.
Oh man.
And we just, we love it. So,
Yeah.
and we use Grey Poupon too. We use spicy mustard on it.
So as that commercial happened, you are still doing other commercials.
Oh.
Are you starting to get more opportunities? Did that kind of help jump your career, or your career was going pretty good though by the time that happened?
Right. Well, when I got to Hollywood, I did a show called The Fantasticks. I was a singer. I did El Gallo, the lead in it. It was the most famous long-running off-Broadway show in history, still is. So it had been playing there a year. I took over the role. A producer came that was doing MAME. He's from Friar Car and Harris, a big Broadway producer doing a movie at the 20th. And he came backstage and said, Craig, I love your work. I think you're very good. I think you can do well in Hollywood. And he said, I'm going to help you make something happen. And so he introduced me to Joyce Selznick at Paramount Studios, who's the head of New Talent. That's David O. Selznick's niece, by the way. And she met me, loved me, and they put me under contract, a 5-year contract.
Wow.
I went from a gas station making $80 a week, graveyard, to $250 a week, hanging around stars, Clint Eastwood and all these big stars at Paramount Studios. I mean,
Wow.
just like that.
Wow.
Everything turned
Changed.
around.
Yeah.
And so I started doing commercials when I was under contract. I did my first one, Pontiac Cars. A girlfriend of mine went in to audition. I was just there with her, and the casting director came out and said, hey, you an actor? I said, yeah. She said, you look right for the role. You want to audition? Well, I did, and I got it. She didn't. And I went on to do 320 commercials over 40 years or something, 45, 50 years. I mean, it
It's just
became a
incredible.
major part of my career.
Yeah.
It was the biggest moneymaker of my career because doing movies, you get paid for, when you're not a star, you get paid, $10,000, $20,000, $40,000, something
just for performing.
Right. Or a guest star, then I'd only make $1,500, $2,000 or something. Well, next month, how do you pay your rent? I mean,
Right.
it just doesn't, unless you're a celebrity, you have a reoccurring role in a TV series, or you're a known person, a known entity. Commercials is where you make your money. And
Yeah.
I made a lot of money.
Yeah.
And did a lot of commercials, and I was just blessed. Well, I got to work a lot. I was getting up and going in front of the camera and riding horses and doing pioneers, and I was just on rivers, and I was in Italy and France.
Wow.
And it was just
a
amazing.
blessing.
Just amazing. Yeah.
Hey, he was also on the famous show Dallas. Paul, you got a clip on this because, I remember watching the entire Dallas. I mean, it was a big deal. Who shot JR? That kind of thing. So you're in a scene here with Patrick Duffy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I play a senator.
You're a senator.
Actually.
Okay. Let's check this out.
I think a congressman or a senator, one of those corrupt people.
Maybe you should be in Washington now. I can replace some of those. Here we go.
Is this the right spot?
Yep, it is.
Okay. All right.
Ask me.
Figured bought you anything, Bobby?
Oh, come on, you guys. I've contributed a lot more to you boys over the years than a couple of free lunches.
Which we've always appreciated. But Bobby, if it's got anything to do with that tanker spill in the Gulf, we can't touch it.
Political dynamite.
I want to keep Cliff Barnes off of it.
Come on, Bobby. Cliff's been making a lot of noise in the papers lately and getting good
A lot
marks.
of people think very highly of Barnes, Bobby. He was head of the OLM. He did quit Ewing Oil. And he sounds like one hell of an ecologist, real caring.
The one and only thing that Cliff Barnes cares about is ruining Ewing Oil. If he gets on that committee, he's going to turn it into a witch hunt.
Bobby, that's hard to believe. You sure it's not Ewing Oil out to get Barnes?
You know, boys, I'm starting to think that maybe Ewing Oil's been backing the wrong horses in the Senate. We are not in the middle of the stream now. Might be a good time for a change.
You may be further in that stream than you think, Bobby. But like we said, it's political dynamite.
We'll try. No promises.
Wow.
Well, Craig,
Wow.
you're the most handsome guy in that scene.
He is. I mean,
Actually, you kind of got to look.
no wonder your wife.
Remember the
Loves
guy's
you.
name?
Yeah, exactly. So my wife married me because I was a good-looking movie star. That's not true, by the way. She almost wouldn't date me because she knew I was an actor. They don't have the greatest reputation in Hollywood.
well,
really.
now she was I believe, an executive at Disney.
She was
yeah.
she was a producer, events coordinator for Disney for all their events worldwide. She worked with Mickey Mouse and all of them. She took the characters, dancers, singers all over the world, put on $1 million shows.
Wow.
Not Dubai.
She went to
In
Dubai.
Dubai. She was there a couple of times. She was 23 years with Disney. She was behind the camera, but quite something else. She was great at that. I didn't know her at that time, but she was, she was a big shot at Disney. They didn't pay her like a big shot, but
They should have. Yeah, they should have. That's right.
Well, of course not. Big corporation.
Disney's very cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we gotta have another one here. One of the show. It's also very recognizable spot as a Gorton fisherman as well.
Right, right. It's a famous song, remember? Trust the Gorton fisherman.
I do.
And I ended up eating them a lot because I was an actor. Here we go.
Fish isn't the only thing I'm catching these days. Introducing Gorton's grilled filet meals. Perfectly grilled and seasoned fillets with a side of rice and vegetables or crisp broccoli for a complete meal anytime. Gorton's new grilled filet meals.
Trust the Gorton's fisherman.
You are the original.
Simon. Well, no, Denny Miller.
Oh, Denny Miller.
Oh, yeah. Here's another one.
Oh, let's play it. Back
this
it up,
one's
Paul.
good.
Let's watch this.
Yeah, this one's with the Eskimos.
Directions from the Gorton's fisherman.
Looking for a tasty addition to Gorton's line of grilled fillets? Wild salmon from the icy North Pacific. Perfectly grilled and specially seasoned so you get the delicious taste of salmon. And I get a pair of these. Gorton's grilled salmon fillets.
Trust the Gorton's fisherman.
Wow.
Yeah, and they
Where does the Gorton's fisherman catch beer better fish?
Well, you have another one? Yeah, if you got another one, let's
well,
play
I have
it.
a bunch of those on there.
Well, let's play it. Let's see it. Another one.
Not exactly. Caught only in the coldest Arctic waters, my beer batter fillets are made with real beer for a hearty taste and crispy crunch that's irresistible. Gorton's beer batter fillets.
Trust the Gorton's fisherman.
But the Denny Miller, who was Tarzan, did it years before I did, and did it for quite a few years. And I don't know why they replaced him. He was getting older, but I replaced him, and I shot it for a couple of years. I probably did, I don't know, a couple of dozen commercials for them that ran a lot, so it was lucrative. And, and of course, I'm still recognized today. It was a famous product.
Oh, yeah.
You know, with that tag and that tag, you know, clip and everything, you know, the song. So, yeah, it was good. It was fun.
It's cool. Now, you, Paul, I don't know if you know this, but you know Goldie Hawn. You know who Goldie Hawn is, of course. From the
I know the name, but I'm not.
Oh, okay. So he's a different generation.
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, that's an interesting story. I was living on a place called Argyle Avenue in Hollywood, and a bunch of actors in this apartment building, and that was just when I got my contract to Paramount. It was during that time.
Okay.
And one of the girls that lived there was Goldie Hawn, and she was dating this guy who was out in the road with Ann Margaret. He was a dance captain or something, and she was in love with him, and he cheated on her with Ann, I guess, and then she used to come cry on my shoulder, and she got this audition for this show, and she did this little local show, and then all of a sudden she got a guest star on Laugh-In.
Yeah.
And so this is her story to me.
Yeah.
She was so afraid, so panicked during the show that she couldn't remember her lines. She kept going up, and Goldie had this real Judy Holliday sort of personality. You know, and she started doing that because she'd go up in her lines and she couldn't keep going. So she just laugh and giggle. Well, they were going to fire her, and they put it out there. They were going to get rid of her. I guess she did a few shows, guest stars, and it turns out that she got such a return mail from the fans. They said, "No, we love her. She's really darling. We love her." They not only wrote her into the show, they made her a regular, and they wrote that into it. They said, "Don't ever get it right. Screw it up every time. Mess it up every time."
Play that.
And that made her a star. Go figure. She ends up winning an Academy Award. I'm doing shows in the Villages, and she's living in a mansion in Beverly Hills. So you never know. You just never know. Tom Selleck's another one.
Yeah. You knew him.
Tom's a good friend of mine. Yeah. And I knew him socially and professionally. Sam Elliott, him.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Dean Cain. You guys probably know.
Yep.
Anyway.
I love Sam Elliott.
Tom.
Oh, yeah.
Tom, nicest guy in the world. Real pleasant guy. I saw him. We introduced him to this, my ex-wife and I, and this lady, and he dated her. We all went out to Beverly Hills and blah, blah, blah. And one day I'm driving down Sunset Boulevard, right by the famous Whiskey A Go-Go, right at that light. I pull up. He pulls up right next to me. I roll down my window, say, "Hey, Tom." He says, "Hey, Craig, how you doing?" He said, "We talk." And he's got a script on the steering wheel driving down Sunset Boulevard. I said, "What do you got there? What are you doing?" He said, "Oh, yeah, something they're doing in Hawaii called Magnum PI." And I went, "Well, he said, "Oh, it's all right, Craig." He said, "Hey, man, I am the king of unsold pilots." He'd done 9 of them.
Wow.
And I had done 1, and mine almost made it. And history, obviously. I said, "Well, hey, good luck with it, man. At least you got something to work with." He said, "Yeah, but I got to go Hawaii to shoot it and all this stuff." And so anyway, he went, and that's history. Tom became a big star from that. And Tom was not a very great actor, not a very good actor. He had a very high voice. He talked up like this. They had to coach him to get his voice down to what he looked like, because he was such a good-looking, manly man,
Yeah.
And a great guy. My same height, but he's 6'3", I'm 6'4". But he and I competed with him and Sam Elliott for years. I mean, we competed against each other
for different roles.
Oh yeah, in commercials, and they both made it, and I didn't.
Oh, come on.
Made it, and I didn't. But I became a yeoman, a working actor,
right?
And it ended up doing a lot of work. So but I'm still blessed. I don't begrudge that. I'll tell you the truth. If had I not done that, I wouldn't have met my beautiful wife, who I madly love, and we live here in a wonderful life here in the Villages. That wouldn't have happened, and I wouldn't probably have not become a Christian, and that was important in my life. I just didn't know it.
Right. And you and Craig attends every Sunday here at Freedom Fellowship here in the Villages in Florida, and always comes in. He and I try to compete with shirts. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, you're wearing a great one today. Where did you get that, by the way? Is that one in Bombay?
It's Bombay.
I got to get back over there and find. There must be some new ones out.
Yeah, look at the back, my man.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yeah.
New threads.
Yeah. Well, he's the one that got me into it. I looked at him. I told my wife Lynn. I said, "Man, look at that shirt Paul's got on. I got to have one of those now. I've got 5 or 6 of them. Yeah. My wife keeps buying them for me for Christmas and birthdays. So yeah, I love those.
Well, what happened to me because I'm from the cornfields of Indiana. This style, what you're wearing, is nowhere up there. Okay, everything is denim and flannel shirts.
Yeah, right.
The farmer.
Right.
So I get down here to Florida, and all my clothes don't work down here. You can't wear that down here. So I started going around looking, and it got and here we're gonna help these guys out. Hopefully, we're doing a commercial.
Yeah, right. Well, they are great shirts,
but
and they're classic. They last forever. You can wear them 20 years from now, and they're just beautiful.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
They hang beautifully, and they feel great.
Yeah, so it just
embroidered.
There's the
you
commercial
change your style.
right there.
You just change your style.
Yeah, amazing. Just wonderful stuff. Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead, Paul. I'm sorry for getting us off on that.
No, I was going to say there's the commercial right there. Who's that for, Bombay?
Yeah. Well, I'll go to the company here in the village and
Bombay
say
Cave.
I'm gonna charge you. We're both going to get paid very well for this. So I'm joking.
Tommy Bahamas. Too,
Yeah.
That's what I'm wearing today. Tommy Bahamas. So might as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Try to get a discount when I go. Go ahead, Paul. Where else are we on this?
Trying to see here.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Let's see. I thought I had a couple more, or I was just going to show. Craig has all of these. Actually, we'll show this Pat Riley one, and then I'll put it.
Oh yeah. I love this because I played high school basketball, and then I played a lot of basketball after that in leagues. And it was during the time of Showtime. It was during this time when Magic Johnson and these guys were just, winning. And Larry Bird's from Indiana.
Right.
So there was a great competition between the Celtics and the Lakers.
Oh boy.
But I love Pat Riley. He had the hair slicked back.
Yeah.
He was Hollywood, man. He was
yeah.
Hollywood coaching the Lakers.
Total.
You got to play Pat Riley. Check this out. Check this out.
Yeah.
This one's for all that you do.
What a series this has been. Williams driving the hoop. It's good. It's all tied up.
Hold on. It looks like Riggs may be injured.
Oh, what a time for this to happen.
Miles, you're in. Okay, guys, listen up. It's sideline 10 to Sager. Miles, you take the low post. All right, guys, let's go.
110, only 4 seconds left to play.
Kevin Miles in for the injured Riggs, and here we go. Martell passes to Saker. Saker at the top of the key, shoots. Off the rim, fires for the rebound. It's good! Unbelievable! The rookie, Kevin Miles.
Kevin Miles. A lot of dreams here, huh?
Yeah.
Welcome to professional basketball, son.
For everyone who works toward their dream, the clean, crisp taste of Beechwood aged Budweiser.
This spot's for you.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, you look sharp in that one. You really did. I think you could coach basketball.
Yeah, I remember running into Pat Riley a couple times, and I almost wanted to say to him, well, you know, I played you in a Budweiser commercial. But, yeah, that was near the end of my career. That was getting near the end. You know, in show business, as you get older, like I said, you don't retire. They just don't call you anymore. But you just, as you get to a certain age, you work less and less. Unless you're established, you're a celebrity or a star, you work less and less. And I started to get less and less work. And then I got less and less enchanted with Hollywood, which had turned really sour. I mean, it's really, I try to be careful with my words here, but the belly of the beast. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on there that most people don't want to be involved with. My wife and I didn't. I had not become a Christian yet, but I realized that the underbelly of Hollywood, which I was not a real part of, I sort of played around with but I didn't get into all that Playboy Mansion stuff and all that stuff. My instincts told me it wasn't where to go, and I wouldn't change my name or do anything. I just said, hey, I'm going to be me. And if my me's not good enough, then the heck with it. I won't do it. And it just, we decided to leave because we couldn't handle, we decided it was just, I don't know, overcrowded. And the traffic is just unbelievable.
Right.
7 lanes, each side of the freeway, 7 lanes. Not 7 lanes. That's twice.
14 lanes, really.
And then you're talking millions and millions of cars. You got to see it. So we just decided we moved from Hollywood or L.A. or Santa Monica to Orange County. Spent 2.5 years there. Came out and visited the villages and moved here.
The rest was history.
Yeah.
So, what year was it that you left California then?
Well, we left 5 years ago now.
Okay.
2020.
In 2020.
2020.
Okay,
yeah.
so
yeah.
okay, just as COVID and that whole thing was happening.
Yeah. They shut it down.
So it was a good time to get out of there anyway.
Yeah, 6 months after we were here. But
wow.
But anyway, Hollywood, is still today is much different, Pastor. It's a much different environment. It's all the AI and TGI and there's almost no need for live actors anymore because we're obsolete. They can take my image, my voice, and they can put it on anything, and it looks and sounds like me. I don't think they're ever going to do that because I never got to that level. But my point is that trying to start. If I were going to advise young people today listening to this about wanting to become an actor or an actress in Hollywood, I'd have to warn them. I'd have to caution them because it's a dangerous place.
It's dark, isn't it?
Especially for women.
Yeah.
If you not dangerous in the sense if you keep your head together and your mind and your heart together and you keep in the right path, fine. But if you get led down the path of the drugs and the incest and all the stuff in there that's the underbelly of it, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And I mean. I've known so many people that have died, the dead from the debauchery, if you will, of Hollywood. So I'd say be careful. But on the other hand, if you out there, anyone's listening, wants to do what I did, you've got to go for it. If your heart and your mind have to be into not becoming a star, but about performing, about entertaining people. That's what I did. I'd entertain them on stage for tens of thousands of people, many, many shows, singing, dancing, comedy, even in Hollywood, in the famous Westwood Playhouse. that's what you have to focus on. You have to be focused on your career and becoming a working actor, and what comes will come. If it's stardom, celebrity, that comes. If it doesn't,
so let me ask you, doing these plays that you did, theater, and you do it every night. Every night. How do you keep yourself? How do you gear yourself up every night to go out there and knock it out of the park? I mean, that's a tough deal.
Oh, it's very tough.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you a couple. For instance, when I did El Gallo and the Fantasticks, I did it for a year. We only did 4 shows a week because it was a small theater in Hollywood, and they didn't. I guess didn't have the audiences for it, but we did it 4 nights a week. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Then when I did Growing Pains at the Westwood Playhouse, it's like a Broadway house, I starred in that, and a musical, and that was years later. That was, a whole different venue, a whole different setup, and we did more shows. We did it every night. So you just prepare, you go into the dressing room, you prepare early, vocalize me, ba 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 ba, and start working your voice, get your voice warmed up, your vocal cords, and you just have to be prepared. You'll go over some scenes you had maybe difficulty with. You look at your script, talk to one of the other actors, say, "I'm going to go over the scene," and you have to constantly work at it. And every few weeks, a month, the director would come back in and refreshen us all up.
Yeah,
he'd say, "Okay, folks, we're going to run through it," and they clean it up.
Yeah.
Now, when I did Unsinkable Molly Brown in Las Vegas, which I did at the Union Plaza Hotel, I starred in that as Johnny Brown. She went down in the Titanic. And she was married to Johnny Brown from Leadville, Colorado, and I played him. And I did that. We did that 2 shows a day. We did 2 shows a day.
Wow.
I think we did 8 or 10 a week. Well, I mean, I got to tell you, I'm singing.
Yeah, that's tough.
We got a 30-piece orchestra out there, and the problem is you get complacent. You get a month in, and you think, "Oh, I know this so well," and all of a sudden you go blank right in front of the people. Quick story.
What happened?
I'm playing in front of a 30-piece orchestra, playing Johnny Brown. I'm out there on stage alone. I can't remember the song, or I'd sing a little for the people. I don't sing.
Go ahead.
I don't sing anymore. I don't sing anymore.
I'm sure you can sing.
But I'm standing there on stage alone, and I just on Carousel in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And Billy Bigelow. And oh, gosh, I can't remember the song. Anyway, that song, the first 32 bars are almost exactly like this song that I sang as the lead is Billy Bigelow.
Okay.
And
so you started.
I mean, is Johnny Brown. And so I started singing. The orchestra, his back's the orchestra leader, and the orchestra leader, and I'm back here on stage. I start singing the song from Carousel, and he's going like this with the orchestra, and he goes, he looks at me, and he's going like this. He's going, he didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I looked at him, and I went, "Oh my gosh,
you're
I'm
singing the wrong song."
I'm singing, and my brain's going, "Uh-oh."
Yeah.
Well, not 16 bars in, I transitioned right into the giant, and the audience never had a clue. Never had a clue.
They don't know that you were singing the wrong song and that you transitioned to the right song without anybody knowing.
That's professionalism. On stage, you can't go, "Oh, oops, sorry, folks. Can we start over?
No.
Act 1? No. You have to improvise." And it's amazing. And
I can tell you from preaching which preaching is it's a performance as well. I mean, there's no question.
Absolutely.
The problem is you have to adapt constantly. I mean, you don't, because a lot of times we have an outline here, right?
Right.
But the message is coming from heaven.
Right.
And I don't know where it's going, but yet you have to use your experience and some of your stories, and you don't know you're going to do that.
Right.
It's ad-libbing a lot.
Exactly.
Well, you do it too as an actor, of course.
Well, exactly. And that is true. Lenny and I have said many times in Sunday in church, and you're preaching, you or Pastor Mellon, and we can see you have, I mean, I know exactly what you have there. You got bullet points and the highlight, and you got it certainly. But we hear you and know exactly when you're going off on tangents about stories and everything.
Yeah.
And when you're going back to the Bible and the verses.
Right.
And that's performance.
You
You have to be able to think on your feet and not sit there and go, oh, wait a minute, and run back up to your podium and go, oh,
no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
No.
So there's a little, so, but it is amazing that when I watch you in these commercials and in these television shows and watching Jason Star Command, and I see the incredible talent and the incredible gift. And, God gave you everything. He gave you the looks, the ability to sing, to act, to move, to very, very charismatic, personality. But was there some dark times in this journey before you found the Lord, before you found God in your heart? Even though God was directing you, he was watching over you.
Oh, yeah.
Was there some dark times?
Yeah, there was. There was a period that I had done. And perfectly honestly, I did drugs back in the 70s, and not heavily, but I did. And I got not caught up in it so much as it affected me. I almost OD'd one time, actually, accidentally. And that really got me into a space where I was getting horrible anxiety attacks. And I was working as an actor, but I'd have these panic attacks where I'd be sweaty, and I'd have to pull the car off the side of the road. And I finally went to a psychologist and I said, wow, what's going on with me here? I just can't, And after 6 months of this or something, he said something to me that changed it. And he said, Craig, there's nothing to fear but fear itself.
Yeah.
Do you have people that love you? I said, yes, I do. My family said, then you'll never go below that. So don't be afraid of fear. After that point, and that was a really low point for a couple of years in my life.
Yeah.
And being in Hollywood, I had to keep auditioning. I had to keep going out, and you can't be sitting there having a panic attack.
No.
And they're saying, read this dialogue for, a commercial or a film.
For a film or a pilot.
Yeah. But no, I'd love to say something really dramatic and, awful, like everyone died around me, but no, nothing. I mean, I had a really wonderful time there. I had moments, where I tell you right now, had I been married to my wife, it would have been a lot more. My wife today, Lynn, I would have been a lot more pleasant experience because I was alone.
Right.
All that time. And though I had my daughters finally at 39 and 41, I had my two daughters. Their mother and I had split. And it was difficult to try and work that as a single father, trying to run the and still my auditions had to come first, and it was complicated. But I was successful at it. I have two beautiful daughters in their 40s with three beautiful grandkids. They're all healthy and happy, and I'm just blessed.
Wow, you really are blessed. Yes, Paul.
Well, I mean, so Craig, you kind of answered it. What I was thinking about. It sounds like you've probably had more ups than downs in Hollywood. And Pastor just asked the question, right? Was there any dark times for you? But really, if you could just sum up for me, I don't know. This might be a tough question for you, but if you could sum up for me, maybe one of the biggest lessons that you learned from your time there. What do you think that would be, Craig?
Oh boy.
That is a tough question. Sorry about that.
Well, no, that's all right. I can tell you right now, and again to the audience out there, anyone who might be thinking of going into show business, it's if you can't handle rejection, the biggest thing I learned attempting to become an actor was you can't be discouraged. You get discouraged, but you have to get over it quickly, and you have to be hard-shelled because you got to be a crocodile out there because you're going to get rejected 95% of the time, at least. That's working actors like me who had a very successful career, not a star or celebrity, which I never was. Well, of course, some people think I am.
You are a celebrity.
I never,
yes, you are.
Never really was.
Oh, yeah.
But you have to have the height of a crocodile. You're going to be rejected a lot. let's say there's 150,000 people in the Screen Actors Guild. I don't know I think it's around that now. At least back when I was working, 85% were annually unemployed. 85%, up to 90, and those people above that made a little living at it. And the 5%, the top 5%, which luckily I was, we made a good living at it, and some a great one, obviously. But
yeah,
I was a working actor for decades, and one of the most famous commercial actors in the country. I did more commercials probably than anyone in the country. Maybe a few other people did what I did in commercials. But boy, you get rejected. I'd work maybe 2 months a year.
Wow.
And I was pretty good. I was up there.
Yeah, you're pretty
I was
good.
in the top 5%.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Still
that's
tough.
You've got to be able to shake it off and keep moving forward. You got to keep going because it will eat you up and spit you out. It's a very tough. There's no more difficult business in this world. I haven't done them all, but I can't think of anything, being an attorney, being a pilot, being whatever, that has the competitive edge, the competitiveness, and the difficulty of becoming an actor. It's grueling. And if you let it get to you, all of a sudden you're into drugs, you're into alcohol, you're in therapy, and it
eats you alive.
It can eat you alive, and so you have to have a good, strong character and heart and mind. And it got to me a few times, but I was always able to get past it.
Gene Hackman just recently died. Did you ever meet him?
No, I did not. I'd never met Gene, never worked with him.
Yeah.
Most of the people I've worked with, Blazing Saddles, they're all dead.
Yeah.
When I worked with just many other people in the other shows.
What are the films you were in? You were in Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Saddles.
Was you in?
Yeah.
What was it?
Rosemary's Baby.
Rosemary's Baby.
Right.
Yeah, he was in that.
Yeah. More Dead Than Alive. Clint Walker, Anne Francis, and Vincent Price.
Yeah. Wow.
I kill him in the end.
How'd that feel?
Vincent Price is gone.
Vincent Price, of course, was a well-known, always played the dark side. How'd it feel to kill Vincent Price on film?
Well, no, I didn't kill him. I killed Clint Walker.
Oh, you killed Clint Walker.
One of my big scenes is with Vincent, but he was something else. He was one of those old, very articulate actors.
Yes.
He says, "Well, Craig, how he had that very," but it sounded real.
Yeah,
very affected sort of.
Yeah.
But it sounded real, and. But he was fun. Lee Van Cleef and Forrest Tucker I worked with in Barquero, the Western. I starred in that with them. They were interesting guys too.
You did a lot of Western stuff.
They're both gone too.
You did a lot of Western stuff.
A lot of Westerns. I rode horses a lot. I worked as a cowboy.
Yeah.
So I rode well. I could handle guns well. I still have a lot of guns and weapons that I work with. And so I was a natural for that. I could rear horses and I could gallop and I could do everything on a horse. And so I could even rope a little bit. So I did a lot of it commercially. And
did you meet any of those guys from Bonanza?
Films.
Did you ever meet those guys?
Dan Blocker, I did, and Little Joe.
Little Joe, Michael Landon.
Michael Landon.
Yeah, Michael Landon.
When I was on the contract at Paramount, my gym that I worked out, it was an old soundstage, and it was right on the lot.
Yeah.
And I'd work out, and when you opened these barn doors in the gym, there was the set of Bonanza.
Okay.
One of the sets.
Yeah.
The town set.
Yeah.
And, of course, I'd watch them shoot, and Mike Landon would come in into the gym and get rub downs from the head guy that owned the gym.
Yeah.
And so I met
him.
all them, and but I didn't get close to them.
Right.
But I was still. I met a lot of Clint Eastwood. I ran into in the lot one day, and I was there. We were both there auditioning for the same movie.
So you're competing with Clint Eastwood.
I competed with him.
Yeah.
I called Paint Your Wagon. He ended up doing it.
Okay.
But I auditioned for Alan J. Lerner and Joshua Logan. The music guy was Alan J. Lerner, and who wrote famous Broadway shows. The music, and then Josh Logan, the director, and I didn't know it, but they were looking at Clint Eastwood for that role. And then I walked down the street one day in Paramount, the main streets, and he walked up past me. I said, hello. Nice guy, good looking man. He had this big head, and he just.
Well, he's a little older than you too. I mean, he's
old. Oh, he's 10
years.
12. I'm 83. He's
95,
10, 11 years, 10, 12 years. Yeah. But nice. Well, it turns out that he was there to audition for them. I didn't know that, but I could sing. He couldn't. So when they cast him in it, he sort of talked the lyrics in the songs, or I would have sang them.
Yeah.
Quick story. I'm in there with Alan J. Lerner and Joshua Logan. Alan J. Lerner is a famous composer. I mean, one of the world famous composers. He sang for the Queen. He sang for all the presidents, for John Kennedy.
Yeah.
I mean, he played music for him from your shows. So he says to me, Craig, can you sing a song for me? And I wasn't planning on that. I'm sitting there in front of these two famous men, and I said, and Joyce Selznick, the head of talent's there. She's going, yeah, Craig Salmon. Oh. So I tried to sing one of his songs. I talk to the trees, but they don't listen to me. Which is one of his famous songs. And he had sung it in front of the Queen.
Yeah. So,
And I went up. I went about 8 bars, 10, 12, I don't know. And I went up and and he said, Craig, don't worry about it. I went up in front of Queen Elizabeth on my own song. That's what nerves will do to you. And I said, yeah. Anyway, I tried it again. I still couldn't get through it, but they didn't cast me. They cast Clint. And
he couldn't sing.
And he couldn't sing.
So what they do, change it. They change it to where this wasn't needed.
Well, he sang it, but he did talking.
He talked it through. Yeah.
I
do that a lot.
I talk to the trees, but they don't listen to me. They
he did this. Yeah.
They talk it and have a few musical notes they can hit. Yeah. Because he was not a singer, and Clint was not a comfortable actor.
Clint Eastwood was not a.
Oh no. Clint hated dialogue. He hated in his beginning. That was just after Good, Bad, and Ugly when I met him, and I auditioned again.
Good, the Bad, the Ugly.
And he did not like dialogue. He said it many times. The less, the better. He had that great look where he turned and he had that's gleam in his eye and that hat, and he's and that he was famous for his physical look on camera because the camera. Yeah. They call it in Hollywood, the camera kisses you.
Yeah.
If the camera kisses a person,
go ahead, make my day.
They look great.
Yeah.
If they don't get kissed by that camera, they're out.
Yeah.
You got to look good on that camera. You look good in person, not good on camera, vice versa. But anyway, he said he didn't like dialogue. It was too much for him. He just did not want to go there. And then he becomes a famous director.
Yes.
And a better actor.
He got better.
But when you are struggling to become a good actor and you're working with top producers, top scripts, top people, directors, everyone becomes better.
Everybody gets better.
Yeah.
The higher the level and the higher performance and the higher the competition, you always get better.
Right.
Yeah.
Peter Fonda, who I knew as well.
Okay.
Peter Fonda was one of the exceptions. His father was famous, but Peter didn't. He never.
Yeah,
became a good
Henry
actor.
was tremendously famous. Henry Fonda,
and a great actor.
Yeah, but Peter was good.
Peter was not a good actor. He did Easy Rider, and it became a click, a big hit, a film with that. But he was not a very good actor. I mean,
you're better than him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think I was.
Yeah, you were. Let's just say it. You can say it. You're better than a lot of the. Let's just be honest. You know, not only you, but there was a lot of other actor and actresses that were actually better than some of the stars. No doubt about it. They just didn't get the right role at the right moment. Would you agree?
There are actors and Hollywood actresses that, trust me, that are more talented than a lot of these stars. A lot of them. But you've got to have that chance, that break. You've got to know somebody or have the right timing, like Tom did.
Tom Selleck.
Like Goldie did.
Yeah,
Goldie screwed up. That's how she got famous.
Yeah.
Now,
and after Laughing, she went on to do several movies. I mean,
she won Academy Awards. She got nominated for Golden Globe. She won a Golden Globe.
I mean, Sleepless in Seattle with.
No, she wasn't.
No, that wasn't her.
Yeah.
I'm wrong.
That was Julia Roberts, right?
Under which the ship one?
Oh yeah, that one. What was that?
Meg Ryan.
That was Meg Ryan.
But no, Goldie's one was the ship where she was. Anyway, it's Lotus Blossom, I think. But anyway, the point is, there's a lot of talented people that I auditioned when I auditioned for the for Paramount, and it called the Fishbowl. I had to do a monologue, and I did a song. I did Try to Remember from the Fantasticks. Try to remember the kind of September when life was slow and oh so mellow. And then I did a monologue from it, and I got the contract, and I ended up in that fishbowl on the other side of the one-way mirror, watching a guy audition. This is a great example of what can happen in Hollywood. And there's the head of talent with me, the head of casting, all these people. This kid comes in and does a great scene, really good. The head of casting turns around, looks at me and goes, "What'd you think, Craig?" And I looked at him and I said, "He's really good." And he looked back at me and said, "But we already have one of his type, don't we?" That was
you.
Me.
Yeah, it's you.
They said, "Thank you." And the kid walked out and never had a shot because I was sitting there.
You were sitting
I'd
there.
gotten there ahead of him.
Yeah.
Or trust me, he would have been under contract. This kid was
good.
He was a better actor than I was.
Yeah. And you said, and you were honest. You said, "Look, he's really good."
I couldn't.
And you could. Why deny it? He was good.
Well, they'd say they know what I was doing.
Yeah, they knew.
I had to be, and I'd have been honest.
He's really
anyway.
good.
I said, "No, he was great. He's really good." I was impressed, and that's hard in a cold audition.
Yeah.
So that's Hollywood. That's how
it goes.
It can be so. Just that's why that luck, good fortune thing came in. I found out it was God, but most of them don't ever find that out because there's not a lot of Christianity in Hollywood.
Well, let me ask about Christianity. You came to Christ at the age of 80, which I want you to know, the statistics of someone coming to Jesus Christ and becoming a Christian at 80 and above is less than 1%.
Really?
Yeah, in the world. Oh, yeah. Because people they generally make up their minds, especially by about 40. You don't change much as far as who you are as an individual after 40. Okay? You can make adjustments. But generally, people after 40, they get set in their ways. We call it being set in their ways. And they've had enough experience in life, and they dealt with enough things, and they kind of at that point they pretty well know what their moral compass is.
Right.
Or at least they think they do. Unless they see the light that really gets brought to them in a way that changes them. So how did you come to Christ at age 80? What led you to that moment?
Well, my wife is a Christian, and she always has been.
Yep.
She got away from it to a degree through the Disney career, and like I did in a career and all that. But she was always there. It was in her heart.
Right.
And her family, all Christians, all religious people. And I, about 5 years into knowing Lenny, I think when we moved to Laguna Woods, it was about 7 years ago, 7, 8 years ago, she said, "Craig, I want to go back to church. Would you join me? Would you go with me?" I said, "Sure, honey, I will." Because my daughters grew up in Catholic schools.
Okay.
High school, junior high school.
Yeah.
And I used to go there and, with them and go to church. But I didn't care for the Catholic religion. I didn't care for how they approached it. I didn't care for a lot of that. I won't get into that. But anyway, I did not. And I still to this day have problems with that. I know there are some Catholic Christians, but I didn't find that to be Christianity.
It just didn't work for you.
No, it didn't work for me. And I told the Monsignor that. But so when Lynn said, "Would you go with me?" I said, "Yes." And we went to this, to this church, satellite church in the villages. That was the same. Who was the fellow? Rick Warren.
Oh, it was one of Rick Warren's churches.
Yeah,
it was a satellite church from Saddleback.
Right.
It was one of his satellite churches.
Church of the Springs, it was called. And we went, and I started going with her, and I started listening when we were in Laguna Woods in California. And I started listening, and I thought, well, Craig, if you're going to be there, don't just be there because Lynn wanted you to be there. Really listen and see where she's coming from with it.
Right.
She never once, through all this, said to me, "I really want you to try and become a Christian," or even mentioned anything about it. She let me find out for myself. I listened. I started reading some books, A Case for Christ. I started watching some documentaries and a couple of movies. Mel Gibson's
Passion of the Christ?
Yeah. Which really moved me. And I got here, and I was sitting in one Sunday at the church, and there was a certain message they had that day, which I didn't always agree with their messages. But I just looked at Lynn and I said, honey, I think I'm a believer. Well, she just started crying right there.
Yeah, she started crying.
She was just sobbing, and I think a few months, 6 months later, I was baptized in our pool at the house.
Yep.
By the pastor there, now we left that church because we didn't like the way they did what we called sermonettes. They talked about family unit, the marriage unit, and being a good person and being, a good, but they didn't talk about how the Bible and how Christ's word applies to our society today.
Yeah.
We felt that was important to deal with the issues, because there's no point in talking about family if you've got young people by the tens of millions who are not getting married, not having kids because of society.
Right.
What family? There's no family to talk about in Christ. There has to be family, and without that, our country's dead.
Right.
So I saw that. We got tired of those mini sermons and those things, talking about things. We wanted the real thing, real truth, which you guys. Lynn came to me with her phone and said, "Look at this." And I looked, and I think you were I'm not sure if it was you or Pastor Melvin. I saw Israel and his group playing the music, and I said to her, "Now that." In the tent, which I loved, reminded me of Vero Beach when I was a kid in the 50s.
Okay.
They had tents and revivals and
tent
hallelujah
revivals.
And praise the Lord.
Oh, yeah.
And I used to get goosebumps. I didn't know why. Well, and when we saw that, I said, honey, that's it. That's where I want to go.
Yeah.
And we went the next Sunday. We got there late because we thought it was 10:30, not 9:30. Anyway, long story. We've been there ever since.
Yeah.
And we just love you guys. We love both of you pastors. We love Israel and his group. They're great musicians. They do a lot of work in Nashville. They're really professional.
Yep.
And the music's just terrific. And I'm waiting for him to invite me up there to sing a solo.
I am waiting for that too. Come on, Israel, let's get this done. Israel's like, I didn't know.
I'm joking, Israel. I don't think I have the breath anymore to get through a song.
I think you can. I think
see how I set that up?
That was beautiful.
What's he going to say now? Right?
He's got to invite you for a chance on that. I loved it at the Christmas party, folks, when you read this great poem, and it was really, really good. And you're a very good speaker, and you can really bring it about.
Right.
And I said to my wife, I said, man, there needs to be a movie. There needs to be a film. Craig is not done. He needs to play. I mean, you could almost, you could play anything. There's so many great roles out there that you could play. And so I've never stopped praying about that. I kept saying, Lord, you got to open up one more.
I'm depending on you, Pastor.
Yeah, one more. God can do this. He's not done, is he, Lynn? He's not done. He's got it in him.
But anyway,
one more.
I found Christ with Lenny, and I then started really studying. I read the Bible, cover to cover. I've not read it again. I'm going to.
That's good.
I'm writing my own book, just so your audience know.
Oh, good.
I'm not saying not promoting it.
No, good. Go ahead.
It's not for sale, really. I mean, I'm going to put it out there on Amazon. People can buy it, but because I have to, I'm publishing through them with this publisher. But I'm done with the book. My wife's going through it because she's better at editing that stuff than I am.
Yeah.
I almost failed English in high school. She was a straight A student, so that'll tell you where there's.
I know what we did. So you and I both married up big time.
Well, yeah, big time. Yeah. So I've got the book finished, and I'm going to take it to the publisher pretty quick when I get the pictures together, and that's going to be out there. But I've been so busy with that, I haven't gotten taken the time to get back to the Bible, which I'm going to. I want to reread it, especially the New Testament. The Old was a lot for me to deal with because, Another thing at that church, when they would not, the other old church we went to, they would not deal with
Revelation.
Yep.
Revelation.
Well, they wouldn't deal with it. And when they wouldn't, I kept asking the pastor. I went to a Bible study, and I said, why do you keep laughing? They'd say, let's go to Revelations. He'd go, no, I don't want to go there. Yeah, no. And he kept laughing it off. And I finally pulled him aside. I said, why do you keep laughing that off? I
want to know.
What's wrong with it? I want to know the truth. What is it? He said, no, it's too much. They were afraid of losing their flock at church.
Yeah.
That it would offend them. It would scare them. And they wouldn't touch it.
Yeah.
You guys are all over it.
Yeah.
We love that.
Yeah.
Because they got to hear the truth.
They got to. Well, this is the time we're in. I mean, if you read the Bible, this is the period we're in.
Oh, I think we are at the end times. I agree with you.
And I don't know how long that is, but obviously we've entered that period. Well, we're in that period now. No doubt about that. Prophetically, we're there.
Right. And we agree.
And so we'll just keep watching every day to what's going to happen. Paul, are you? Would you have another question for Craig? Because I want to introduce his wife. I really want to bring her out here because you talked about her enough. She's got to come on camera. You're not ready for camera, Lynn? Come on, Lynn. You just to say hi.
Briefly. Come say hello. She's a very important part of my life, and I come on. You don't have to talk. Folks, she's very good behind the camera. She's tough. She knows her stuff. She does not like in front of camera, so come on.
She can say hi. Say hi anyway.
Come with your husband and let them show what a pretty thing is.
What a beautiful lady she is.
Me.
There we go.
This is my beautiful wife, Lynn. And
hi, Lynn.
Buddy.
The love of my life.
I'm very shy on camera, so.
Yeah. She's the one
he's the love of my life, so.
Yes. And the woman that brought me to Christ.
Amen.
Thank the Lord.
Amen.
And I love her forever for that.
Amen. Well, you two are a beautiful couple, and we love you. We're so glad you guys both are a major part of our church. So thank you so much.
Blessed to be part of this church.
Amen.
So. Amen.
Thanks, honey. Yep, that's the best part of my life right there.
That's wonderful. That's just so great to see too. You guys are just so madly in love. We can all still see that too.
Married 12 years and together 14. And I got to tell you, we're as in love today as we were back then. And I didn't meet her till I was almost 70 years old. We just have, the only thing I regret is that I didn't meet her 20 years, 30 years earlier, because I'd have had all those great years together,
Yep.
That would have been wonderful. But I'm blessed to have what I have. And I have her now, and I've got a great life and a great career, memories. I have memories of like when I do this and I get fan mail and I send letters. I send, autographed pictures back and everything. And the book, and everything for my grandkids. That's for my kids.
This is for this is your legacy is the book coming.
It's for Lynn and my kids and my grandkids. My daughters, Alana and Olivia, and my grandson Maverick, and then Vivian and Ava, my granddaughters. They're all between 7 and 10.
Yeah.
And I wanted to have this for them, to have the legacy, to be able to look back and see what Grandpa did.
Yep. They can watch all the commercials. They can read the book. They can get a real feel for their grandfather and for your great grandchildren are coming.
Well, think 100, 200 years ago, years from now, if we are all here and God hasn't taken us all, I just pray my daughters become good Christians. They're brought up in Catholic Church. I just pray they become Christians, and the kids do too. We pray that every day because I want them to be up there with us. But so if we're around, then my great grandkids go, oh, wow.
They can watch what, and that'd be really cool. That's really cool.
Well, Craig, it's been an honor to have you on and to meet you. I know you called me. We were talking details this past weekend about before the interview, and I was like, wow, Craig, I was telling my wife, I was like, Craig he's 83 and he's still extremely hard working. I was trying to tell you, like, hey, don't work too hard. I'll find stuff if we need it on there. But I think that's just a testament to, kind of the lessons that you learned as well, is keep grinding, right? That's what I tell my wife. That's what I tell myself. And that's what I tell my kids. Keep grinding and and it'll pay off where you're going to get where you need to be. But Craig, you've lived the American dream. You are an American icon, even though you're very subtle about it. But as you can see from we didn't even show all of your work as well. But I wanted to share, Craig, I've made you a guest page that has your link to your IMDb, where there's like tons of work that's listed on there, and I don't think all of it is actually credited to you the way it should be as well.
Right.
And then also I'll put a link to the Vimeo clips that I was showing on there. And then I don't know if your book is out yet on Amazon yet, but if it is, I can link that.
I have got to get it to the publisher and get that done. I would think this year sometime I'll have that, but I'll definitely get it to Pastor and get it to you. And if you put it on there, great. If people want to buy it and read it, I mean, I'm not against that. I just that wasn't my plan, but it'll be out there on Amazon. So,
Okay. That's great. Well, I know Saturday morning we're going to start watching Jason of Star Command in my house because it's on.
I love that.
All 28 episodes too is on YouTube.
That's good. Yeah.
And
and
Craig, I just want to say keep golfing, get sunshine, read and learn.
Yeah.
Right. So that it'll keep you young, keep your mind fresh.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got to stay active, especially now. And my wife and I do. We were swing dancers as well. We still are, but we just can't dance because they don't play our music. We dance to 50s rock and roll, 50s, 60s rock and roll. We were very good swing dancers, but we're getting older and tougher, and they don't play our music, so we can't do it as much. So we'd love to do that, but unfortunately, the squares don't offer that anymore.
They used to do that around here. There's not much of that left now.
No, they won't do it. They were trying to attract people in their 60s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, and that's all 70s, 80s, 90s music.
Stuff,
And you can't dance to that.
No.
I mean, you can shake, but you can't. We swing, we dance.
Yeah, you're swing dancing.
We turn and we dance.
That's a lost art. Lost art.
We
so
miss
come on, the Villages.
Come on, Villages. Get it together.
I know. Well, we told them, hey, give us one night a week, or during a set where a 50s group is, now they're forcing them to play 70s, 80s. Let them play a few set of rock and roll, of that great music.
Yeah,
they won't do it. I've asked them, I've written to them, they won't do it. Yeah. So, it's sad. Maybe if they see this,
maybe this will wake them up. Yeah.
Well, and there's a lot of people our age range, 70s and 90s here, that still love that music.
Right.
Even younger people.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the younger people. My age, little bit younger than you, because I'm 63. Okay, so I'm 20 years younger. But I loved to hear the old 50 rock and roll stuff. I love hearing Elvis Presley. I love hearing The Killer.
That tempo. Who cannot
the Jerry Lee Lewis. I mean, all of those. Chuck Berry. How could you not?
Right. How can you listen to Jailhouse Rock and not go, wow, that's cool?
I mean, so
whatever.
Yeah.
Jerry Lee Lewis.
Great Balls of Fire.
Great Balls of Fire.
So, but it's amazing. That was an amazing era. That was an amazing era, no doubt about it. And my
hopefully we'll get.
So I like to go back and listen to some of that. And watch. I like to do that. So it's just good.
Well, I want to just say thank you too, Pastor and Paul. Thank you for this opportunity, and it's a great pleasure to do this. And I've done, as I said, many of them. I've done television shows, podcasts, newspaper articles all over the country, and it's fun for me because it's not an ego thing. It's about getting to live my great memories and relive it all and remember it, because I wouldn't remember a lot of this if I didn't keep repeating it so many times. My wife's sick of hearing it, but she puts up with it. And,
she loves you.
But I appreciate you giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today on the Paul Begley Podcast. New episodes will be released every Tuesday on all major podcast streaming platforms. For a video recording of this episode, you can watch and subscribe on our YouTube channel at Paul Begley Podcast. Hey guys, we want you to connect with us. Follow us on X and Twitter at Paul Begley Pod. We'd love to hear your questions you want us to answer on the show. For additional Paul Begley content, go to our website at paulbegleyprophecy.org. If you've thought about it, we'll talk about it. Paul Begley Podcast.